Welcome back to the San Diego Opera Podcast. My guest today is Juan Carlos Acosta, who is conducting our next production, All Is Calm. Juan Carlos.
Great to be here.
Good to have you with us.
Yeah.
This is your first gig at San Diego Opera.
Sort of.
Yeah, in a way. That's
As
right.
a conductor.
Well, yeah,
That's
tell
right.
me a little bit about your history with the company, because
Yes.
it goes back a ways.
It does. So I was a student at SDSU, and my very first exposure, not very first, but one of my first exposures was for a graduation gift in high school. My mom bought me season tickets to the opera. So I had my first season tickets for the 2000 season. And then by 2003, I think I was singing in the chorus. First production was Turandot, and sang for as many productions as my schedule would allow, because I was also trying to make a career as a professional musician.
I'm curious, what was the first opera you saw?
That's a great question. I believe I saw a production of Carmen when I was a kid. Maybe it might have been one of the invitational school deals. So if there's any question about whether those have effect on people, I think they really do. And,
I don't think there's a question at all.
Yeah, no, there really isn't.
It's been so significant, I think, in the life of the community.
Seriously.
Since the beginning of, I got to say this, since the very first production of the company, which was La Boheme,
yes,
in 1966, there were 4 performances. 2 of them were student matinees.
That's fantastic.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
I mean, 50% of
it shows a commitment.
It's really incredible.
Right from the get-go.
So thank you. It's a little detour, but
that's right. Well, it's
great.
a detour series, so it's perfect. Yeah.
So you sang in the chorus
Yes.
for how many years?
I think 9 years. I think maybe I took a year or 2 off in between. I think I had a core contract by my second or third year in, but wasn't able to do it because then I also got a full-time music job at a church, and I was doing all sorts of things.
And then you did grad school for a couple of years. You got your master's in choral conducting.
Correct, from San Diego State.
Which brings us almost up to date, but
That's right.
I have to say, you are currently the music director of Sacra Profana.
Correct.
Tell us a little bit about that, because that also relates to this present production of All Is Calm.
Absolutely. So Sacra Profana is a professional chamber choir based here in San Diego, and it is 10 years old, so we're in our 10th season this year. In 2015, I think it was, I was hired as the associate artistic director and principal conductor, while our founder, Christian Oberoi, did graduate school in Boston. And then starting in July, was named artistic director for the group. And so I've been involved in kind of a co-collaboration of All Is Calm for the this will be the 3rd time.
Yeah, and Sacra Profana, I have to say, is doing incredible work.
Thank you.
Under your hands, and you guys hire great singers, great choral singers, and you produce wonderful concerts of a really incredibly diverse array of music for chorus, which is really exciting. And that, of course, brings us to All Is Calm, because it was a partnership between Sacra Profana and Bodhi Tree Concerts, I believe, that first brought All Is Calm to the community. Talk a little bit about that first production.
Well, and really, San Diego Opera was in from the very beginning as well. Chad Frisk, one of the singers in this production of All Is Calm, approached me with an idea when we were doing a Mullen Night Visitors, was 4 years ago now. And he
also a Christmas opera.
Exactly, another Christmas opera. So so he works directly with all of our organizations, and so he kind of brought us all together and got it going. It really, it's at its base, it's a 12-voice men's opera. So 12 men voices, and we felt that Sacra Profana would be a good addition to that. Obviously it's choral background. The original production was done by Cantus, which is another men's professional choir. And so we used the 10 singers from Sacra Profana for the men's choir, as well as 6 kind of soloists, many of whom sing with San Diego Opera off and on, and put that together to do this original production that we mounted at the Veterans Museum.
Yeah, I have to say that I went to that first production of All Is Calm, and I didn't really know what to expect. At all. I thought, okay, this is sort of interesting. It's an opera about the Christmas truce or armistice of of 1914. Is it going to be original music? Is it going to be just historical artifacts? Is it going to be engaging? And I walked out of that thing completely wrapped up in the story. It made me go to the internet and search more
Right.
for information
Right.
about what happened and what didn't happen, and the music, even though a lot of it is music that I've heard over the years growing
Yeah.
up,
Yeah.
placed in the context of that story was so powerful.
Yeah. It really, really is.
It was really incredible.
Yeah.
How is the opera built?
Yeah. So, at its heart is the voice of the soldiers from that time period.
Right.
And that comes across in a lot of different ways. Letters home that they wrote and they sign off themselves, journal entries, other interviews after the fact, and then historical documents, even some stuff pulled from historical recordings from that time. And then the music that's paired with music mentioned specifically in those same letters. So they say, oh, we heard this song drifting across, or we answered with a chorus of this song, and so the music, they just pull those pieces and put them together in arrangements for a cappella men's voices.
And the arrangements are gorgeous.
Yeah, they really are.
The names of the arrangers, I'm afraid I should have
Sure,
had.
no, Eric Lichty and Timothy Tkach.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the fellow who devised the entire
Peter
piece,
Rothstein.
right,
Yeah.
out of Minneapolis.
Correct. Right.
Theater Latte Da.
That's right.
Not
That's
Latte Da. Latte Da. And it's got a production off Broadway.
Correct.
This coming year.
Yes.
Lots of organizations throughout the country are picking it up and doing it.
It's such a compelling story. I mean, I really feel like it's a great combination of those, the voices of the soldiers, accessible music, and a story that is poignant in that, this is 100 years old, where today is the 100th anniversary of that armistice that ended the war, but also the idea that people with such differences could put down their arms, like literally the weapons that they had in their hands, and come across that divide and join together.
It
It's just
must
beautiful.
have been amazing. It was also, as I read more about it, I realized it didn't all happen in one place.
Right.
It happened spontaneously because it was Christmas.
Up and down the line.
Up and down the line. It's such an incredible story. And so each instance of that truce happening had its own combination of personalities
Yep.
and national differences
Yep.
and people just spontaneously getting up out of their trenches, walking into no man's land and celebrating Christmas because
it was Christmas.
Yes,
Just because, exactly. Yeah.
And one of the great lines in the opera that one of the soldiers wrote, when the sergeant said, "Hey, get back in your trench," he said, "Shut up, sergeant, it's Christmas."
That's right.
I love that. Now, what are the challenges of conducting a piece like this? Because you've got no instrumental accompaniment
Yep.
whatsoever. It is
Yep.
done completely without orchestra or instruments, a cappella, as we say in the choir business.
Sure.
How do you keep all that together?
Yeah, I mean it's a challenge, and luckily we have fantastic singers. Things like pitch. Those are finding the starting pitch, things of that nature. Some of the technical elements of it, but also the kind of energy and mental focus that it requires from the singers to be on that whole
Right.
time. I mean, in
Yeah.
a typical opera, if you're in the chorus, maybe you have 12, 16 minutes worth of music. If you're a principal artist, maybe you have 2 arias, a couple duets, and an ensemble piece. That's easy for you to learn and then put together with the group.
Yeah, and when your
versus-
character is done,
Ex-
or when the chorus is done, you
Yep.
can go
Yep.
relax, play
Right.
cards.
Yeah.
And
Look.
until the stage manager says, chorus is up for the next scene.
Right. We're on the whole time. We're supporting each other the whole time. I mean, whether it's visually acting and fully engaging in the scene or musically supporting them, there's a number of times where the lines are delivered with what we call underscoring. And that's all a cappella men's voices.
Yeah.
So, we have voices in the kind of that'll go to the background so that this spoken word can come out at the same time. And that's, those are difficult technical elements to put together.
It's also, I think one of the really cool things about the Detour series for San Diego Opera is that we get out of the Civic Theater, which is a massive theater,
Yep.
and which is great for the big standard repertoire.
Truly.
Like we're doing this year, Rigoletto, Marriage of Figaro, Carmen. Those are big operas, and they deserve a big theater. We're doing this in the Balboa Theater, and it makes so much sense because it's an intimate story, and we're going to be in an intimate space.
Yep.
With how many singers?
16.
16 singers, all of whom are soloists.
That's right.
At one point or
Yes.
another.
All our soloists and all our chorus.
They all have to tell the story. And every note, every word has to have impact on every individual in the audience.
That's right.
You think the Balboa is going to be a good space for that?
I think so. I don't know the year that it was built, but something tells me that it's, it's a historic theater, and so I think that kind of lends itself to, you could imagine that this was fresh after the war, that somebody wrote this kind of dramatic thing, and that these people lived it.
And yeah, I think the Balboa, I should know this.
Yeah.
It's the 20s, and it's probably the early 20s, so it's not terribly long
not-
after this event
Exactly.
of 1914.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a beautiful space as well, and we're bringing the chorus. Well, the whole show. We've extended the stage over the pit since we don't have an orchestra.
Right.
And so we're going to bring literally we're going to bring the action right down to people, and it's going to be very tangible. And I mean, just in terms of thinking about the history of the event, the people in the back row are probably no further than the folks in the trenches were from each other.
Yeah, that's true.
If you think
that's
about it
a
in
really
those
interesting
terms.
way of thinking about it. Yeah.
And we have comments that you could hear a chap coughing, across the trenches.
Yeah.
That's how intimate it was, and so I think that's kind of one of the neat pieces about doing it in this space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm terribly excited, and I'm excited for you because it's your professional debut as a conductor with San Diego Opera,
Right.
which is great,
Yeah.
and we've got a lot of tremendous local singers
Yeah.
in this piece. So I think, in many ways, it's homegrown product, but
Yeah.
at the absolute highest level,
Absolutely.
which I'm so excited about.
Yeah,
So,
it's I know I've worked with almost all of the folks on here. In fact, one of the singers reminded me that we sang together in the tenor section of the San Diego Master Chorale about 20 years ago, and we haven't worked together since. But looking at the roster, we've got this dream team of local talent,
Yeah.
and I think people are going to be blown away by the individual talent, but also maybe even more importantly, the collection of voices that we put
Yeah.
together and featuring them in this ensemble show.
Yeah.
I think it's really something special.
I'm thrilled. I can't wait for December 7th when we open. 3 performances, the evening of the 7th, which is a Friday, the evening of the 8th, both at 7 o'clock, and then a matinee at 2 o'clock on Sunday the 9th. Thank you so much for being with me.
My pleasure.